Hi, this is Dave Kaufman with Voices in Harmony, and this recording is going to show you how to create an eval track, which is necessary for being evaluated in Voices in Harmony, or it's one of the ways that you can do it at least. And some would say it's a preferred method. So this video already assumes that you have Audacity installed. If not, I have a different YouTube video that shows how to install Audacity on a Mac, and perhaps in the future I'll make a video on installing it on a PC. So the basic steps are going to be that you need to have the music that you want to record on your computer. You download it from our website, and then you open Audacity and you create the evaluation track, and then you upload it to the website. So the first thing I'm going to do is get the music that I want to try recording and put it on the site. So I'm going to go to the member site. And I'm going to log in. And then let's say I'm going to download Can't Buy Me Love. Now there's two different things that you can do here. There's something called the learning track, and there's something called the eval track. Now the eval track has the three parts with your part missing, okay? And the learning track has all four parts. What I'm going to do is show you a little bit slightly more advanced method, which is using the learning track, because it's a lot more useful, because what it allows you to do is to practice against your part. And then once you've mastered it, then you can go ahead and create the eval track, which is basically you can make your own instead of just downloading it from the site here. That will be covered. So I'm a bass, so I'm going to download my eval track. Now, this is very important. When you click to download it, you do not want to open it in iTunes. You want to save the file. This is the problem that most people have, is they have no idea where they put the file. So hopefully you'll see at least my method of finding out where the file is, and maybe it will help you find your file. So I'm going to save the file, and you'll notice over here in the this is Firefox. There's a little arrow here that's showing that the file was downloaded. Now, it happened pretty quickly, but it would have counted off the time in seconds until it was downloaded, and then it went blue. So by clicking this, so there's a couple of different ways of finding it on, at least on a Mac. If by clicking this here, there's the file. Okay, now what I can do is I can right click it and then say show in Finder, and there's the file right over there, and it's in a folder called downloads. So what I want to do is I want to put it in a music folder. Okay, so the way I do it is I open my Finder. I'm going to right click here and then say new Finder window, and then I'm going to, well, let me try a different one here. I'm doing this live because I just saw something else. It says go to folder, and I'm going to type the word music here and see if it goes there. Ah, all right. So I just typed go to folder music, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the other window, and I'm just going to drag the file from here into the music folder. All right. So now I've downloaded the music file, and now I know where it is. It either could have been in the downloads file, but folder, but I moved it into the music folder. Okay. So I'm going to close this. Now, previously, when we installed Audacity, when it got installed, it ended up on the desktop. Now, it's quite possible that you don't want it sitting on the desktop. As you can see, I have a very clutter-free desktop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I can find Audacity as well. And if here's the folder, it's on my desktop. I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to drag this down, and I'm going to put it into my applications folder. Now, it's saying that it already exists, so it was already there. But that's how you can find your Audacity, is by putting it in a known place, such as the application folder. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is make sure that I have everything closed except for that I don't use. That I don't need for making my recording. So I'm going to go down the line, and I'm just going to make sure that all of my applications, like my web browser, my email, any kind of Word documents, iTunes. I want to make sure that I have no open applications. This is very important because some applications make noise, they slow the computer down, they cause all kinds of problems. So I've got all my applications closed. And so now I'm going to open Audacity. So I clicked my applications folder, and I'm going to click the Audacity folder. Oh, I double clicked it. I'm going to single click it. And now I'm opening the Audacity app. Okay. And it's giving you a warning that this came from the internet. Am I sure I want to do it? And the answer is yes. Okay. So now that I have Audacity open, I want to open the file that we're going to make the qualification folder on. So I'm clicking on Audacity, and then I go File, Open, and then I'm going to go to my music folder, and I'm going to, let's see, type Can't Buy Me Love. There it is. Now, this is one way where it says media. I'm going to cancel, and I'm going to show another way. File, open, and I'm just going to, I can search for it like recent places, music, and then I can type Can't Buy Me Love. So I'm showing different ways of finding the file, because that is the biggest problem that people have, is that they can't find the file. So I'm showing different ways of finding the file. So here's Can't Buy Me Love. I'm going to open it. Okay. So now what I have is I have a stereo recording of Can't Buy Me Love. What we want is to have split tracks. Now, how do I know it's stereo? That's because, look, the mute, there's only one mute and one solo, but there's two sets of bars over here. So what I want to do is I want to create two separate tracks. So the way I do it is I go to this little pull down over here where it says can't buy, and there's this little down arrow, and I click down, and it says split stereo track. Now, to be honest with you, the only difference between the learning track and the eval track that shows up on the website is that somebody already did this, and they eliminated the part where they basically eliminated the left track, which is the part predominant track. So what we have is both tracks available, and this is quite useful because now you can practice against your part predominant track until you have it mastered, and then once you've got it mastered, you can mute it, and then you can record yourself with the other three parts, and then that's what you want to submit. So I'm going to give a demonstration now of the playing the music and then muting the two sides so you can see. So we know that the part predominant is in the left, but I'm going to hit play. Okay, that's the part predominant one. Now they're both muted, and that's the three parts without the part predominant. Okay, so now that we know what the two different tracks are, the left track being the part predominant and the right track being the three parts, what we're going to do is practice with the part predominant track. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewind to the beginning, and then I'm going to mute the other three parts. Now you could, there's two ways you could do this. You can mute the one you don't want to hear, or the other way is you could hit solo on the one you do want to hear. Okay, those are the two different methods. I typically use mute. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the different microphones. So if you look up over here, it's telling me that I can either use built-in microphone or I can use built-in input. Now I happen to have a external microphone plugged in, and for this demonstration I don't have a headphone on, but I would normally be plugging in a headphone. Okay, now this is important because if I was to use built-in microphone and I didn't have a headphone, when I hit record I would just get feedback because the microphone and the speaker are right on the laptop that I'm using, and I'd get feedback. But in this case I've got the built-in input, and hopefully it's not going to feedback when I hit record, and if it is, I'll lower the volume down so we stop it. Okay. There's one other thing that could happen, which is synchronization, and I do have a different video if you have synchronization issues, and that is when you make your recording and then when you're playing it back, that it's a little bit out of step with the recording that you were recording against. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just going to test just for a few bars with the part predominant track. Me love, buy me love, love, oh, buy you a diamond ring, my friend, if it makes you feel alright. Now, this is really not the way we want to do it because I've got the, I'm not wearing headphones. So what we're going to hear in this recording is the part predominant track plus myself singing. So you should have headphones on at this point. But for demonstration purposes, it wouldn't make sense for it to be silent and you're not hearing what's going on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewind this, and I'm going to hit play, and it's going to play both the part predominant track and my recording so I can listen to what job I've done. Now there's one other trick you can do, and that is you could take the part predominant track and move it into the left speaker, and then you could take your part and move it into the right speaker so you can get some separation and hear a little bit of a difference. Buy me love, buy me love, love, oh, buy you a diamond ring, my friend, if it makes you feel alright, and Okay, so now let's assume that I have made a bunch of recordings and I've mastered it, and I'm really, really confident that I'm ready to do a take. So what I can do is each time you record, okay, I'm going to rewind and I'm just going to do it one more time. Each time you record, it's actually going to create another track. So what you can do is you can mute the previous tracks or you can delete them. But you don't want to leave it unmuted, and you don't want to leave it there, otherwise it's going to be playing that right along with the other one. So I typically just delete all the previous ones and just save the final one that I'm working on. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it around, and I'm going to unmute the three other parts, and I'm going to mute the part predominant track, and then I'm going to make my recording. Now, once again, you should probably be wearing headphones with this, but it'll make a cleaner recording. But it can be done just as I'm doing now. It's just not as clean when they're going to evaluate it. Oh, so what I did here is I made a mistake, and it's good to see mistakes so you would know what to do. I didn't rewind to the beginning of the recording. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to delete this track. I'm going to rewind to the beginning of the recording, and now I'm going to make my eval track. So one more time, I've got the part predominant track muted. I've got the other three parts unmuted, and here I go. Buy me love, buy me love, love, oh, buy you a diamond ring, my friend. Okay, so let's assume that I made the whole entire recording. Now what I can do is, there's two different things I can do here. One is I can once again compare myself to the part predominant track. So I'm going to mute the other three parts, and I'm going to play my part against the part predominant. Buy me love, buy me love, love, buy you a diamond ring, my friend. Okay, so what you're hearing is a little bit in the background, the other three parts bleeding through. That's because I'm not wearing headphones. But normally, if you were doing this, you would not hear the other three parts at all whatsoever. Okay, so I've gone through the whole entire thing, and I'm really happy with my recording. And now I want to submit the recording. So the first thing I want to do is I want to what I might want to do is actually listen to the recording against the other three parts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute the part predominant. I'm going to unmute the other three parts. I'm going to hit rewind, and now I'm just going to hit play. Okay, and now this will make it a lot easier for the evaluator is if you take the other three parts and you shift them a little bit over to the right, and then you take your part and you shift it over to the left. It just makes it a little bit easier for evaluating to split the two different tracks out. It's not mandatory, but I prefer doing it. I don't move it all the way to the left. I just move it a bunch to the left. Okay. So now I've got the other part muted, and now I've hit the rewind button, and now I can go File, Export, and I can say Buy Me Love Bass, and then put my name on it, and maybe my first take on it. And I want to note where the file is, and it is in the music folder. Okay. So, it says that one already exists, so I'm just going to name it like number 5. Okay. And if you want, you could put your name here. You don't have to. But when other people pull the file up, then some of this information is available. So now it's going to export it. So this is the point right here. If you did not have the lame encoder properly installed, it will come up and warn you that you were missing the lame encoder. Okay. So now what you can do is, there's one other thing I'll mention. If you are working on this and you don't want to have to start everything over and over again, you can go ahead and save the project. But I'm going to give you a big warning about that. First, I'm going to save the project, and I'm going to say Buy Me Love Bass, and let me see if it already exists. Okay, so I saved it. Now this creates a file called .aup. That's not the file that you want to submit. You want to file the .mp3 one. Okay, so just be careful. If you create a project, it's going to create this .aup file that's not what you want to submit. Okay, So now that I have saved the file, what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit Audacity. I'm actually going to get out of completely quit out of Audacity, and then I'm going to find my file that I saved, and I'm going to listen to it before I submit it, just to make sure that it came out okay. And I'm not going to use Audacity, although I could use Audacity. I'm not going to use Audacity just to make absolutely certain that it sounds good. I'm just typing. I'm just going to search for it. Okay. Um, there it is. Buy Me Love bass, and I want to find where I made it number 5. Uh, there it is. Was Kaufman 1? Uh, well, I don't know where the number 5 is, but here's the number 1, which is good enough for our purposes. Okay, so I'm going to click on this, and then from there, either you can say open with, and you probably don't want to open with Audacity. You want to make sure that any other tools will be able to hear. So I'm going to open it in iTunes, and here's iTunes opening. Okay, and all I'm doing is just making sure that that is the actual recording that I wanted. Okay, so now that I have it all set up, I'm going to submit this recording. And what I do is, at this point, I go and I open up the chapter members website, members.vihcourse.org, log in. I go to VIH model. I go to track evaluations, and then I go to submit a new recording. And at this point, I browse and I look for Can't Buy Me Love. Now, here's the one I do not want the .aup one. I do not want a data one. I want the one that ends with MP3. Okay. I'm typing it. It's going to search for it. Pinwheel. And there it is. Okay. I click open, and then from there I can go to Can't Buy Me Love. And then it's useful. You could type in some comments where you're strong, and uh, where you can do some improvements, any other comments, and then you would click the button Submit Recording. And at that point, it could take a few minutes, but it will upload the song, and then after that point, it will show up on the I'm going to go to the place where it'll show up. So I'm going to cancel this. I don't want to do this because I've already submitted it. And then after it's uploaded, then you'll see right over here, you'll see it. But what it will say is not reviewed yet. And then after somebody gets hold of it and reviews it, they'll update it. And then what you'll see is either review in progress or try again or a pass. So that pretty much ends the recording. If you have any questions, once again, this is Dave Kaufman. You can contact me, and I'd be more than happy to work with you on being successful at doing this.